Summer is over and school is back in session. What's being done to prepare students for success in today's global marketplace? Find out now on You and Your Money. You and Your Money is brought to you by Lyford Key International School, Call, the Kidney Center, J.S. Johnson Insurance, and Sun Oil Limited.
Throughout our lifetime, we must all make decisions. No matter how we choose, the right one just needs to be made. Like having J.S. Johnson Insurance Agents and Brokers as your insurance partner. We've been serving the Bahamas for over 100 years. Whether you need home, motor, marine, or commercial insurance, make the right decision. Call 397-2100 or visit jsjohnson.com.
J.S. Johnson Insurance, peace of mind.
Welcome to You and Your Money, everyone. I'm Christina. Part of the Ministry of Education's vision is to create an education system that equips students to become nation builders who are globally competitive. Here today to talk about how the national curriculum prepares students for global success is the Director of Education, Dr. Marcellus Taylor. Welcome, Dr. Taylor, to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Earlier this year, the Ministry of Education celebrated the launch of its second curriculum. What was the process developing a second curriculum that would equip students to be globally competitive?
The process that we engage in the curriculum development involves a number of key steps. The first step is to analyze the actual curriculum that we have, analyzing it against itself, but also making comparative analysis. So we look at what other countries, not only in the region, but around the world are doing. And then the other steps involve the actual construction and development of the curriculum guide. And in that process, we not only involve teachers who are the actual practitioners who have to implement the curriculum, but we also involve people from business and industry and people from the universities. So that at that point, we are able to match both what is the needs of society along with what is practical in terms of the implementation process. And then finally, the next but most important step is the process of implementation and then monitoring and evaluating that implementation. And so once we're able to monitor and evaluate that implementation process, we're able to see what works, what doesn't work, where we need to refine, and when we go back to the revision of the curriculum, we are able to then use those findings to support, improve, and enhance curricula.
I love that you said how you engage so many various partners as a part of this process. Now, there are 10 new curricular guides, one which is entrepreneurship. What are some of those learning objectives in the new entrepreneurial skills curriculum?
Well, I can't speak to the specifics of the curriculum guide, but what I can speak to is the fact that in developing this document, we have not only worked with teachers, but we have also worked with people from business and industry. And we have said to our colleagues that we want to be as innovative and as creative in this exercise as possible. So the idea around the entrepreneurial curriculum guide is to facilitate students exploring the whole realm of business and what it means to take risks in business, what it means to start new businesses, and what it is to have the confidence that once you do certain key things properly, like developing business plans, understanding the market you're dealing with, understanding the product that you're providing, that you will then be able to creatively put that all together and have success.
So how does the current computer studies curriculum provide students with the knowledge and the skills needed to be successful in today's digital economy?
Well, in the computer skills, first and foremost, we start that from about grade 4, where students get exposure to that in most of our primary schools, if not all of them. And what we seek to do is we seek to ensure that students are comfortable with the computer. Most recently, we have sought to introduce coding to that curriculum so that students can move on into the more advanced areas of computer usage. We've also sought across our system to introduce high-speed internet, which will enable students to not only utilize the computer as a tool itself, but to use the computer to access an array of knowledge and information that they will be able to use to enhance their learning generally. So what we want to do is to, in a lot of what we're doing, not just teach them the computer, but also help them to be lifelong learners using tools like the computer to be able to do that.
Having to use the coding aspect, or even having to introduce the coding aspect, is definitely cutting edge and making sure that they stay ahead of the game and not having to be playing the catch up. So what is being done, especially in the Family Islands, to ensure that they're producing students who are also globally competitive?
You might recall that in 2019 we introduced the Virtual School Bahamas.
Okay.
And a big part of the reason for introducing the Virtual School Bahamas was to bring a kind of parity across our system. We have many Family Island schools that have small enrollments, and it was just not possible for us to give them the full range of teachers who could give them the full range of curriculum offerings. But with the virtual school, we were able to bring to those students a number of subjects that otherwise they would not have access to, thereby making them able to get a full curriculum offering, especially in the areas of science and technology that they would not have been able to get before, thereby making them more able to compete, not just locally and throughout the country, but also globally.
Now, I understand too that the Ministry of Education actually wants to create the education system that fosters this academic excellence. How is academic excellence being fostered?
Well, academic excellence is being fostered in a number of ways. Because we're developing what we think are rigorous and relevant curricular guides, because we are training our teachers constantly professional development, because we are moving into a digital realm where not only do we have high-speed internet, but we're also integrating technology into the teaching and learning process, which will then allow for students to be able to work at their own pace, and it'll better enable us to individualize the teaching and learning process. And the concrete results of this is seen in the increased number of students who are able to have success at the BGCSE level, but also who are able to gain entry and matriculate into tertiary level institutions, not only here, but also abroad. And so, you know, we are confident that we are providing a quality education.
Yeah, so on that note, even with having to touch on to BGCSE and the certifications that's internationally recognized, what is actually being done to improve the exam results, particularly in the areas of math, science, and language?
Well, you know, it's a process. It's a long process, but certainly we are looking at how we can improve and enhance the teaching of mathematics, which has been a struggle for us. Right now, the ministry is trying to commission some studies to look at what it is that we can do differently in the teaching of mathematics to have some more success in that area. But you know, a lot of it is really setting targets and goals for students and schools on an individual basis. Across our system, we use a system called the 4DX, with 4 disciplines of execution, which is a system of goal setting and target setting. And so each school and each grade level and each student is actually being expected to indicate how is it that they're going to improve in each area. And you know, as I say, it's a process, and you know, we hope to see small but you know, significant improvement as we move along.
Now, I know even though we're talking about Ministry of Education, but it's not just the full responsibility of the Ministry of Education to support our children. So what supplementary support do parents need to provide as their children navigate our school system?
Well, I think the most effective way that parents can ensure that their children will do well in school is to ensure that they are ready each day for school. That they have the requisite, you know, books, tools, that they've done their homework, that they have rested properly the night before, and that you constantly remind them that just as you're going to work every day and you have to work hard in order to have success, and your success is reflected in your paycheck, their job is to go to school, to work hard, and their success is reflected in how well they do as students. because they have to see it as a mission. They have to see it as something that you're not just going to school just while mommy is away or daddy is away at work to mark time. You go in there to prepare yourself. And I think this is the message that we have to be very clear on. And parents, in support of what the school is doing, reinforcing that message to students, I think that will go a long way.
You know, my daughter constantly reminds me, she says, Mommy, my job is to go to school. So while you're saying that, I'm hearing my daughter's voice in that same vein, saying the exact same thing. But thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing with us what it is that Ministry of Education is doing to help out our students.
Thank you very much.
You're watching You and Your Money. We'll be right back.
Lyford Key International School celebrates the opening of its new upper school campus. These new world-class facilities have enabled LCIS to increase its enrollment capacity and further enhance its programming in science, technology, the arts, and more. The school remains committed to making its accredited international baccalaureate education available to bright Bahamian students. Visit www.lcis.bs/admissions to inquire or apply today.
Shell Unleaded improves your fuel economy, giving increased miles per gallon, allowing you to do more of what you really want. Special additives used in Shell Unleaded improve your engine's efficiency. So go further with Shell Unleaded. Venture out to beaches, Junkanoo, and festivals and bring home memories that will last a lifetime. Shell, fueling journeys that matter.
Welcome back to You and Your Money. When preparing students for global success, a private school offers a lot of advantages. However, a private school that offers the International Baccalaureate program may even offer more. Parents who can afford the higher tuition says it's worth every penny. Here today to tell us why is David Mindroff, principal of Lyford Key International School, LCIS, and O'Neill Bain, LCIS Marketing and Communications Director. Welcome to the show, David and O'Neill.
Thank you.
Thank you.
David, for viewers who aren't familiar with the International Baccalaureate, can you explain in a nutshell what it is and why it's worth the investment?
The International Baccalaureate is a curriculum that was originally devised for geographically mobile families, children of expatriates and diplomats living in various jurisdictions. But since then, it's evolved to be offered around the world in national schools, in private schools, and in public schools. It has a unique approach to education which synthesizes the best practices from across the world. There are about 7 key components to an International Baccalaureate education that the students undertake inquiry-driven approaches, that the learning is unique and differentiated to each child, that we use assessment rather than grading to give feedback to students to help them grow, that learning is done in local and international contexts, so we ground all of the learning in real-world contexts. The learning is conceptual, and lastly, learning is collaborative. Most often you'll find students in International Baccalaureate schools working in groups.
The Early Learning Center at LCIS offers the International Baccalaureate program to students as early as age 3. It focuses on big ideas that help students understand the world around them and their place in it. What are some of those big ideas, and how do you help young minds grasp them?
In the Early Learning Center, as well as our elementary school, students are guided by the Primary Years program, which is one of the 4 programs under the International Baccalaureate that we offer. And this allows students to, through an inquiry-based approach, explore the world around them and explore big concepts such as how do we basically fit into our community, and what is the impact that they might have as an individual. They learn a lot about the world around them as well as their family, and they explore these concepts and link them to their own lives. Another component of our Early Learning Center is that it starts as young as 18 months. So although that is not yet the formal primary years program, we are still guided by PYP concepts and that approach in that early stage of students learning. Basically using play as a method to allow them to learn. And so they enjoy coming to school. They begin developing the building blocks that will make them learners and explorers as they move on in the IB.
Now, David, what is it about the IB program that leads students to some of the highest ranking universities around the world?
Increasingly, with the globalized world and families not limiting their children's education to their home countries, I think that it's the global recognition of the International Baccalaureate as a high standard qualification with quality control that's external to the school. I think that in almost every jurisdiction, the best recognized qualification would be the home nation's qualification, but the second best recognized qualification would be the International Baccalaureate. So it's well known and well regarded. For example, one of our graduates who is at Columbia University gained half a year's credit for the work that she'd done as an International Baccalaureate student, because that prestigious university viewed her high school preparation as being superior to other students in her same year group.
So, David, another part of the question that I would want to ask you is, when you look at some of the people who are succeeding in the global marketplace, many of them would be considered as risk takers. And the risk taker is actually a part of the IB learning profile. So how does the IB program develop learners who are risk takers?
I mentioned the 6 key components to an IB education. There is a 7th, which is character education. There are a set of 10 dispositions that we promote at the school. They describe the 𝗪𝗓𝗡𝗘𝗧𝗧 graduating student. And one of those dispositions is to be a risk taker. We interview and hire a lot of people at the school, and I think some of the most important factors in determining the successful candidate is their dispositions as much as their qualifications and experience. So right now there's a lot of uncertainty in the world. Things are changing quickly. So I think that students have to take risks by being innovative. They have to provide forethought. They have to trust that maybe my idea is a good one, so put it forward rather than staying silent in a group situation. So I think that the risk taker is important for both innovation and for the constant change that we see.
Well, you know, no idea is a bad idea. It's something that we oftentimes we tell our children. O'Neill, cultural awareness is also important in today's marketplace. So how does LCIS help students, particularly Bahamian students, become more culturally aware?
Yeah, so a core component of the IB is international mindedness. And really that focuses on building in students an open-minded approach to interacting with other people, no matter their background, no matter their race, no matter their gender. And our school community really allows students a great opportunity to do that. This year, we have 45 nationalities represented in our school community across parents, teachers, students, and staff. And that really gives students an opportunity that is rare in the Bahamas, which is to be around people that are from all across the world who speak up to 14 languages are spoken in our community. And so you're really exposed to a diversity of backgrounds and cultures, and it helps our students to realize that the world is a big place, and there's much more to learn and see than they might have already experienced in their lives. And again, internationalism is just really celebrated in our community. Once a year we have an international week where everyone gets a chance to celebrate their own culture. And alongside that, we still have an appreciation for the place where we are, which is the Bahamas. And so Bahamian students often have opportunities to highlight and talk about Bahamian culture and share it with others who may not be as familiar with it as they are.
When you think about the many different nationalities and even the languages, that in and of itself would give the students a whole lot of experience and exposure. Now, Olim, before we wrap up, let's talk about some of the accomplishments of your current students and the alumni.
Okay, so I think one of the biggest things we've celebrated recently is that for 3 years now we've had a 100% pass rate in the IB diploma and the career-related program. That really is an outstanding figure in comparison to the global average, which sits under 90%. Many of our students, up to 40%, score in the range of 37 points and above in the IB diploma, which really is the gold standard and gives you entry into some of the top universities in the world. David mentioned Columbia. We've had students study at Yale, top universities in the United Kingdom, such as Oxford, as well as top universities in Canada, like the University of Toronto and McGill. And again, even with our current students, there are so many opportunities that the school provides through our partners such as Round Square, where next week we have a group of students going to Oxford University to attend the Round Square International Conference. Through Round Square, we also have international exchanges that our students can participate in and become leaders. And with our graduates, again, we find that many of them are leading not only in the Bahamas, but around the world. As we celebrate 60 years this year, we're reaching out to many of our alumni, and we find that all of them are saying the same thing, which is that LCIS really gave them a strong foundation, a cultural awareness that they can work in any environment, the one in which they could succeed at university and felt better prepared than their peers. There are just so many positive things that we're hearing from our alumni. And as we continue to develop students today, we see many of these same strong characteristics being built in them. So that's pretty much, I think, what sets us apart.
It's definitely been a pleasure having this conversation with you today. Thank you, David and O'Neill, for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate this opportunity. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. It's nice to talk to you about a program that we feel very proud of.
To learn more about LCIS, visit lcis.bs. Coming up next, we'll take a look at preparing student athletes to compete on the world stage. This is You and Your Money. We'll be right back.
My name is 𝗖𝗛𝗥𝗘𝗧𝗧𝗔. I am an alumna of Lyford School. When I got to boarding school, I felt as though I was adequately prepared, fundamentally because of the building blocks that I acquired in my time at Lyford. Currently, I'm working at FTX Digital Markets. I am the Director of Corporate Social Responsibility. What I am doing there is giving back through our corporate means.
Since 1967, Freeport Oil Company Limited has been dedicated to fueling growth and prosperity in the Bahamas. We have been a constant pillar within the country, striving to invest and support our community through the best of times and the worst of times. For us, Full Call represents 21 years of strength and consistency, consistent leadership, consistent growth, consistent customer service. Through it all, we are resilient. Full Call, fueling growth for people.
Welcome back to You and Your Money. The Bahamas is receiving a lot of international attention in baseball, thanks to professional Bahamian baseball player 𝗪𝗪𝗧𝗪𝗓. We sat down with sports journalist Renaldo Dorsett to discuss how students are being prepared for a career in the sport. Take a look.
The Bahamas has had a rich history of success in baseball, and a lot of that at the professional level has predated the existence of us as an independent country. Of course, whenever you tell the story of baseball in the Bahamas, you have to begin with Andre Rogers and his career that spanned from 1957 to 67. And by the time we gained independence, that same year, you had Ed Armbrister winning a World Series with the Cincinnati Reds. And so when you look at what the country has done in terms of producing elite level talent at the international level, it began a very, very long time ago, and it continues today. In the 60s, throughout the 70s, Will Culmer in 1983 was the last of that original generation. And then there was about a 30-year gap until Anton Richardson broke through in 2011. But since Anton Richardson broke through to the majors, we've seen Bahamians come through even more frequently. So now we're at the point where every year we expect a group of 3 to 4 young men to sign professional contracts. And right now we have about 20 Bahamians in the minor leagues. So the success and the foundation that has been laid decades ago continues today. And we see that with the likes of 𝗪𝗪𝗧𝗪𝗧 and Lucius Fox that just made history this year, becoming the first pair of Bahamians to share an MLB field since 1961. So the growth has been exponential over the last few decades, and I think we're going to see that continue. So to have a career in baseball, I think the skills you need are pretty much standard across the board in all sports. There's speed, there's strength, there's power. With baseball, arm strength comes into play. But the great thing about this game is no matter what your skill set is, there's a way for you to get on to the field, because the diversity of skills that you need to play this game is so wide. You can be someone that's a fast guy. They're going to find a place for you to play. Someone that's great defensively may not be a great hitter. There's going to be a place for you to play. So no matter what your skill set is, it's more incumbent on how those skills are honed, how they're developed, the amount of reps you get, the elite training you're exposed to. I think those are more indicative of how, strong your possibility of having a career in this sport is. It's the earlier you get in, the better, and whatever your skill set is, just work on those strengths. So to get involved in the sport of baseball in the country, your options are wide. You have the local developmental leagues that start to take players from as young as 3 up to age 20. When you talk about the most prominent names in youth development baseball in the country, you have to start with Freedom Farm Baseball League and the Junior Baseball League of Nassau here in New Providence. In Grand Bahama, of course, you have the Grand Bahama Amateur Baseball Association, Grand Bahama Little League, Legacy Baseball. The Abaco baseball programs are starting to build and develop now. So it's really a wide berth across the country that has seen this uptick in baseball activity. And a lot of that has to do with the success we've seen at the international level. Everyone knows that Jazz Chisholm Jr. now, he's a superstar. He's one of the biggest names in baseball. So when people see that, when you see that success at the international level, you have parents that want to start their child down that path. And I think the introduction to anyone that's interested in this game, you have to get involved in one of those local leagues, because they have been doing the grassroots work on the ground for decades, and you now see the fruits of that labor. Before anyone hears about these big names, they're on those fields getting this coaching and tutelage from volunteers, and it's really the backbone of the success we've seen in this sport. As with any youth sports program, of course, there's going to be cost factors into it. There's registration costs for baseball. There's equipment costs. As you develop, there's going to be varying levels of equipment. And, we're from a small country. Realistically speaking, if you want to pursue this game at a higher level, you're going to have to be exposed to more elite training. There are educational opportunities. There are professional opportunities, but the model has changed. Gone are the days when a major league club would come down here and you would hear an anecdote about them finding a guy that's a diamond in the rough that had no experience in the sport. That doesn't happen anymore. You have professional scouting services that know who kids are when they're in 7th and 8th grade. Major league clubs are identifying who they want when a kid is about 14 years before they sign them. So for us to catch up with that, that's where you've seen the model change to now we have academies that, tailor-made their programs for people looking to pursue the game at a higher level. International Elite Academy, Maximum Development Academy, Project Limestone. These are places that you would get into when you want an elevated level of training other than playing in one of the local developmental leagues. And there's a cost associated with that. And from a small place, you're going to have to travel. You're going to have to be seen by scouts and coaches in the US. There's a cost associated with that. You're going to have to go to showcases, So all of these are factors you have to consider when you get into the sport, but it's based on how you choose to pursue the sport and what level you're looking at getting into. If you're going to pursue it at the highest level, then it's going to take you having that high level of investment.
That's it for today's show. A special thanks to Director of Education, Dr. Marcellus Taylor, for stopping by. Also, thank you to David Mindroff and O'Neill Bain from Lyford International School, as well as sports journalist Renaldo Dorsett. I'm Christina. Don't forget to follow You and Your Money on Facebook and tune in next week for a brand new episode. Thanks for watching.